Oh boy, it just gets crazier and crazier. So, yesterday, we had ourselves a conversation talking about the update from Elliotte Friedman in regards to the Montreal Canadiens and the Edmonton Oilers. Long story short, we went over the news that the Oilers were actually looking at all three of the Montreal Canadiens goaltenders in a trade-like scenario. And that was a video, that was a thing, we talked about that yesterday, y'all had a good conversation in the comment section below. But in today's video, what I wanted to do was expand a little bit more on the same idea, while also opening Pandora's box to an entirely other conversation to be had. To help us out, we're going over onto WoodGuy55 on Twitter. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I do not know who this is, unfortunately. He's got a blog, becauseoilers.blogspot.ca. He's got 10,000 followers, and a bunch of really legit people in the hockey world do indeed follow him. We've got the Dollywalls, the Wagners, the J.D. Burks, the Frank Saravallis, Dan Murphys, Steve Dangles, Elite Prospects even. I, unfortunately, am not in the know as to what WoodGuy does, but there is a very appropriate social media presence here that has extended for the past decade, and that has bolstered itself up in regards to talking about Edmonton Oilers stuff on social media. There was a very viral Twitter thread that I saw yesterday that talked more so about this Jake Allen, Edmonton, Montreal link that we had talked about in yesterday's video. Again, if you wanted that summary, it's going to be available on YouTube, or you can go to my channel and see from the most recent videos what we had to say about that. But here is what WoodGuy goes out there and talks about in regards to this trade. My guess is that Montreal is willing to deal Jake Allen once or if they get a Samuel Montembeault extension done. My guess is Jake Allen for Jack Campbell plus a big price, and then Montreal buys out Campbell next summer. Selling a buyout is expensive. Now, what exactly would that big price be, quote-unquote? Maybe 3 first-round picks, for example? There are some more replies by WoodGuy to kind of evaluate what this entire thing would look like, and this is why I wanted to make this video here using this Twitter thread, because WoodGuy does some really good work in compiling the data, compiling the analytics, and making a pretty good argument here. He starts out by saying, this is a look at Jake Allen's last 5 years using Evolving Hockey's non-adjusted goals saved above expected rate, and he stabilized this by making it a rate of per 100 shots against. Now, I'm gonna have to take a deep breath here for this one. Breaking down Jake Allen's all situations goals saved above expected per 100 shots against in the last 5 years. Up and down, he has had great results in St. Louis, a rough first year in Montreal, and okay next 2 years with a hot start this year. His GSA expected per 100 shots this season is at a 1.55, so there you go, Jake Allen has been pretty good this season. All things considered, right? There are a bunch more graphs, and I say a bunch more graphs because there are so many gosh darn graphs that WoodGuy includes that pretty much break down Jake Allen's individual plays at all situations over the sample sizes of the past few years. It is some very detailed and very intricate work. There also is a comparison made with other Canadiens goaltenders throughout the years as well, so WoodGuy definitely did have a really good foundation of knowledge here to support this argument and make this broadcasted in the way that it is. And you may be asking yourself, okay, what does that mean though? Like, what's the entire point of talking about Jake Allen and breaking down his entire game when you're trying to relate it to Jack Campbell? Well, that's a great question. Let's scroll down here. In all, Jake Allen looks like an okay or reasonable goalie to split time with Stuart Skinner. Getting out of the Jack Campbell contract is critical, and Montreal might be the only team who could or would do it. His even strength results are concerning or poor, and they have been for 2 of the last 3 seasons. His penalty kill results are pretty great. I would dig deeper into puck or player tracking data to see how he does versus the rush. It's a huge black hole for Edmonton in terms of volume of chances given up and the save percentage. Massive issue. If he doesn't show up okay or better there, I probably wouldn't do it. I'm not sure. Here's a note. The more Edmonton retains on Jack Campbell in this scenario, the lower the cost would be to do this. The equivalent of 3 first guess was based on Montreal taking the whole contract. And so, This is a really interesting idea. If you wanted to go over what exactly it is the Canadiens would want, we had already talked about this in a few videos. Xavier Bourgault is your main number one guy, but if it is, instead of being Jake Allen for Bourgault, for example, if it's Jake Allen for Jack Campbell plus, then all of a sudden you're opening an entire other can of worms. It's Jack Campbell and maybe 3 first-round picks or 2 firsts and Xavier Bourgault if you assume the Canadiens take on Jack Campbell's entire huge freaking contract of $5 million a year till the end of 2027 for AHL caliber goaltending. In fact, goaltending that's been so bad even at the AHL level. If there's a retention there, then okay, maybe the Canadiens take less. Maybe the Canadiens have themselves more of an incentive to take this contract on with the intention of buying it out in the future. But of course, I mean, buying out a guy is never really the easiest thing to do. There are so many calculations that you have to think about. You can't just buy out a guy randomly because you want to do it. You have to think about the long-term implications. If you go over to Jack Campbell and his buyout, where is the thing here? Not history, but buyout opportunity, let's just say. If the Canadiens, or any team for that matter, were to buy out Jack Campbell at this moment in time, all of a sudden the cap hit goes until 2029, 2030, and there's an AAV of about 1.1 mil, 2.3 mil, 2.6 mil, and then you go 1.5 mil. So there is a pretty decent, but not too bad salary cap hit if you buy out Jack Campbell. This guy does not have the same behemoth of a contract like OEL does, for example, like what he did with the Vancouver Canucks. That's a pretty big contract, that in which is affecting both the Vancouver and Arizona teams. So this isn't the worst situation in the world, especially if Montreal's able to get Campbell at a discount. Let's say it's at, I don't know, throw a number out there, 25 to 30% retained, and the Canadiens then buy out his contract from that respect. All of a sudden, you end up hurting the Oilers a bit because they're going to get some cap penalty as well, and the Montreal Canadiens would have another guy on their books that goes on for a pretty long time, but it's not going to be that big of a cap hit compared to the other buyout situations we've been accustomed to seeing over the past few decades. So, while Jack Campbell has been a bad goalie, and he definitely has not been an NHL caliber goalie, he certainly does have an opportunity, I feel, if a team like the Montreal Canadiens, for example, were to go out there and say, hey, you guys got a problem, we're here to fix it, just give us a whole bunch of capital and we'll make it work. They did the same thing with Monahan last year. They got a free first out of that. And who knows, maybe Jack Campbell is actually able to play well enough to rebound in the same ways that Monahan did. Of course, that would be a pretty big anomaly, and I don't think anybody's expecting that. I think in the current NHL landscape of goaltenders, it's easy to see guys who have slow, maybe down years bounce back. Like, we're seeing that with Thatcher Demko right now. There are a few other goalies around the NHL who are playing really well, but it's very difficult to see a goalie go from literally AHL garbage to good again. Especially if there were so many expectations upon him just from a year ago, a year and a half ago even, when he was on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Things change so quickly in the NHL for goaltenders, but when you get to a valley that is this low, it's really hard to climb your way back up. Like, of course we know Campbell is talented, we know that he has skills, it's just whatever is going on mentally has held him back so much that at this point, I don't even know if there is an NHL future here. But if you wanted to hypothesize and say, hey, the Canadiens could bring it out of him, I mean, Montembeault, Allen, Primo, Price, even if you wanted to go that far back, the Canadiens can get good performances out of these goalies, so why not try it with Soup? And then, of course, you could have yourselves the crazy game where Sam Montembeault is the backup to Jack Campbell in Montreal as they shut out the Toronto Maple Leafs 3-0 in 2025 or whatever it is. Either that or they just straight up buy out the guy because he's not doing too all right, and voila. The prophecy that is proposed here by Wood Guy ends up coming true. Now, to end off this video, I did want to go out there and read one more tweet from Wood Guy that kind of satirically poked fun at the attention he received for making this thread in the first place. Me, Edmonton, is scouting Montreal. I wonder what Jake Allen looks like. Me, looking at some results and posting them, saying that Allen looks meh, probably okay to split time. It's going to be expensive to get out of Campbell's contract. And all the replies are saying, oh, grr, why do you think Jake Allen is the answer? So, yeah, I guess you could take that as a lesson in terms of acknowledging and responding to things online. always know what you're replying to, I guess. So with that in mind, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the idea of Jack Campbell getting traded to the Montreal Canadiens and the price being revealed in that type of scenario? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.